news with Gina.
The news with Gina Grad.
Well, this is fairly breaking as we record. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been admitted to the hospital after continuing to suffer from coronavirus symptoms 10 days after he tested positive. I think he's in the ICU now. So the press will definitely be watching what happens with him. And a few more cases Lynch just sent me, or I just saw. Christopher Cross has been diagnosed with COVID-19, as was Pink, who's now sort of out of the woods. She had it, and she was able to get a test. Looks like her son, let me find that. She said, my 3-year-old son, Jameson, and I were showing symptoms of the virus. Fortunately, our primary care physician had access to tests. I tested positive just a few days ago. We retested. Now we're negative, thankfully. And she could donate her blood for research, as we know people are doing now. She has the antibodies to fight the coronavirus. That's what doctors believe now. And
hold on, there's got to be a movie here where like some young girl gets Pink's blood platelets, and then next thing you know, starts singing and doing gymnastics while singing on a trapeze hanging upside down.
Fabric, yeah.
She formerly had no interest or talent in singing whatsoever.
Well, every third movie essentially had that as a theme. Like you got the blood transfusion from the serial killer, and now you had to kill. Like there's a lot of that.
It's not that far from Gay Eye.
Oh, yeah, that's a movie I wrote. But, I think there was a movie, Chris Maxipata, The Eyes of Laura Mars was a movie. It was a Faye Dunaway movie where it's like somebody saw through the eyes of the killer, whatever it was. Did you know Christopher Cross? Sorry, Richard.
I know him a little bit. We did a gig together maybe like 6 years ago in Trinidad, of all places. He and his band played on the same bill, and we hung out a little bit backstage. And I've only known him to be a super, super nice guy. I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, I hope everyone comes out the other side. The Boris, he's probably, what is he, 65, 63?
Probably.
I think
it scares me when guys get it and then don't shake it, and then have to go back. The part where you get it doesn't scare me. The part where you get it, it cycles through pretty quick is promising. But the problem where you get it, it doesn't work, and then you have to go into the hospital. That's scary.
Yeah. Well, Pink is donating $500,000 to the LA Emergency COVID Crisis Fund and another $500,000 to the Temple University Hospital Emergency Fund in Philadelphia. That's in honor of her mother, where she worked apparently for 2 decades. Oh, good. There's The Eyes of Laura Mars.
Yeah.
1978.
A famous fashion photographer develops a disturbing ability to see through the eyes of a killer.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Oh, good news if you drive a car or own a car. Allstate and American Family Insurance have begun discounting car insurance premiums since many drivers just aren't driving anymore due to the stay-at-home policies aimed at slowing this virus. This is according to Fox News. Allstate said most customers can expect a 15% refund in April and May, along with holders of Esurance and Encompass policies, while American Family Insurance returning $50 per vehicle. According to the Journal, American Family customers drove 40% fewer miles in the last 3 weeks of March, resulting in fewer claims. And Allstate estimated the program at $600 million, while American Family said it will return approximately $200 million to the customer base. So good on them.
It's kind of nice not burning through a tank of gas every 5.5 days.
Yeah, I'm shocked it's only 40% less. Like, unless you're still driving full time for your job, essential job, like who's driving?
You go to Malibu, you look at houses.
That's true. That's
true.
By the way, can I just interject that I think that in that story that Gina just told about the insurance, we answered one of the first questions, which is, are there any jingles anymore? Immediately, I think of American Family Insurance.
That's right.
Did your dad give us a couple of your dad's big hits? So we got Two Scoops, and we got Chicken of the Sea.
Yeah, you got Crunchy, Crunchy, Crunchy. Nestle's Crunch is so crunchy. We got, this was huge. Kennel Ration Dog Food. And I actually sang,
Kennel Ration Dog.
My dog's better than
your dog. My dog's better than yours. My dog's better because he's got Kennel Ration. My dog's better than yours. I know. I used to sit around and go, I don't have a fucking dog. And we're never going to buy that Nestle that's all crunchy and yummy in your stomach. But I can sit here and vicariously enjoy life through other people who may have a dog. Yes.
What's that? No, but if you believe in peanut butter, you gotta believe
in Peter Pan.
Yes.
Right.
Adam goes on stage and sings all the songs.
Adam and I are gonna do a tour together where we just sit and sing jingles for 45 minutes.
I love it.
Appointment viewing.
We'll start locally, where I go with the Cal Worthington theme. Then we move into Pete Ellis Dodge, and then we start going more globally with your dad's stuff, but we start humbly and small.
Sounds like a plan.
Hey,
Jesus
Adam,
Christ,
I can't remember if we talked about it on here or if I talked about it with Conway, but very recently, we were talking about the Armour Hot Dogs lyrics.
Hot dogs, Armour Hot Dogs. What kind of kids eat Armour Hot Dogs? Fat kids, skinny kids, kids that climb on rocks. Tough kids, skinny kids, even kids with chicken pox love hot dogs. Armour Hot Dogs. Oh, you can't perform without.
Okay. Not only is yes, could you probably not get away with that today? But I think it's tough kids, sissy kids.
Oh,
which I don't think is going to fly in 2020.
Holy shit!
You're right.
Fat kids, skinny kids, tough kids, sissy kids.
It's an interesting part of the way the brain functions, which is I wasn't allowed to eat Armour Hot Dogs. We didn't buy Armour Hot Dogs, and we didn't buy Generation dog food or we didn't participate in any of it. I simply saw the commercials and memorized all the theme songs. Now, I couldn't do it with the Capitals when I got to school. I couldn't do it with the presidents. I couldn't do it with anything. But if I sat there and listened through a 13-inch black and white Zenith TV, a TV that was deeper than it was wide. It was 13 inches across and 42 inches deep. It's like staring into a poster tube. But I could sit there as a young 11-year-old boy and memorize all of those songs, even though I never used the product and had no connection with it at all.
You know why? Because they had catchy tunes.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, you just brought up Armour Hot Dogs. I just rolled right into that, and we never even bought an Armour Hot Dog.
She said American Family Insurance, and my brain went American Family Insurance, right?
That's right.
Yeah, now I'm dying to think of more of the ones your dad wrote.
Oh God, I'll send you his greatest hits.
Please, I'd like to be separated even further from my children.
Do you guys remember Brown's Chicken?
No, I don't think we had that out here.
Brown's Chicken tastes better. My cousin wrote that.
Oh,
And
really?
the Kibbles and Bits, I believe, too.
I can't even believe you're working. I can't believe you're not hosting on that accolade.
Adam, do you remember? A lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people remember this, but this was a national commercial, too, that was really big, and this was in the early 80s. There was this product, I don't even know if the product exists anymore, called Velamints. Remember Velamints?
Mm-hmm.
And the commercial went, Velamints took the sugar out. You can really taste the mint.
Yep,
My mom
Velamints.
bought Velamint.
I remember,
That was big.
Anything that they took the sugar out of, your mom would buy. Like your mom would buy
100%.
an empty sack if it said sugar on it because they'd go, well, this used to have sugar in it. Yeah, well, we emptied it.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
We removed all the sugar.
Months right now.
She had no problem with those Olestra chips that said they will cause anal leakage, giving those to her children. Anything that, remember that was on the bag of potato chips.
Leakage, la, 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 la.
That was on a bag of food you're giving to your children. So over the weekend, President Trump got on a conference call with the commissioners of major sports leagues and came away with talking about NFL basically, and that they think it'll start on time. The NFL is already moving toward the draft, which is all going to be at home and, not at any facility. But isn't that around Labor Day weekend? That's in September. So they're thinking they should be good for that.
You gotta believe when Trump had all those owners on the phone, he tried to lowball a few of them. Like he's probably like, we don't know if the season's ever going to start. I mean, quite honestly, the season could be over, not just this season, but how old are you, Bert? 77. You may not see another opening pitch in your lifetime. Anyway, let me give you a couple of prices for the Oreos, whatever it is. Hey, I used to own the Washington Generals. I know what I'm doing. Like he probably tried to lowball a few of them. Do a little of that insider trading, where the politician dumps all their stock, all their stock in Exxon and all their stock in, Ford, and then goes and tweets, all is well, don't worry, this is no big deal. Maybe Trump was doing that.
Very possible.
Diabolical.
Yeah. When it comes to shopping for essentials, the country of Panama is quarantining women and men on different days. Women can leave their homes to get necessities on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Men can go on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Everyone stays home on Sunday. The idea is to make it as easy as possible for people to keep their distance from others. So no flirting it up with someone standing behind you at the grocery store.
So this is going to give way to that sitcom thing where the guy has to go out, but he missed his day.
Bosom
so
buddies.
He dresses up as a woman. He's got his fan, and he's like, fresh. He's
you can.
Animate Trader Joe's. And then the guy's attracted to her, like, hey, what are you doing later?
Exactly.
Imagine being so horny as a country. You have to be kept apart by your legislature.
Imagine being so horny as a boss that if Fred Flintstone got into a gown and showed up, you're like, who is this young, delicate creature? I've never met you before. Fresh.
That's right.
That's Fred Flintstone. Have you seen the calves on that guy? Like
stout.
It was always, even when I was 9, I was confused. Like, all right. He's gone from a guy to a horribly unattractive woman. Why is Mr. Slate smitten?
It's a fair question.
By this beefy gal.
Yeah, the guy's
he has a type.
John Goodman, and yes, he's wearing lipstick that's been clumsily applied. Why are you attracted? So if you got a 300-pound huge woman and smeared makeup on her face and was in her 50s, I would be attracted to her because she has a vagina? Is that
that's the rule?
That's a conceit, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So speaking of
hold on. Take this in the spirit in which it's intended, Richard. But if you put a little rouge and some eyeliner on and stuffed your bra, that would be a different reaction altogether.
Okay.
I could see myself getting into you.
I'll take that as a compliment.
You should.
Yeah. You are no Fred Flintstone, sir.
Simply had the haircut you had from 1991 in the Cubs video.
I'm almost back to it.
I'd be there. Wow, look at you. Jesus Christ. Dorian Gray somewhere aging in that basement. Sorry, go ahead, Gina.
I got to be careful because I'm so close to looking like Liberace's never married great aunt.
By the way, I have to give Richard Marks a quick Twitter plug. I've been following you on Twitter forever, and you are a joy to follow on. You are the one of the only joys to follow on that social media site.
Oh, well, bust
he tells
out
it like it is, man.
Bust out one of his tweets because that reminds me. I'm going to set it up. I'm going to tease it.
I do have one, actually, a random thing that's always stuck with me from memory, although I'm sure I'm getting it totally wrong. So if you wouldn't mind filling in the blanks, that'd be great. I remember you said something in the last year about if there are, and I'm gonna mess this up, but if there are 7, co-authors on a song, then 5 of them are lying, or something like that, and that really stuck with me.
I just, we're especially the last, I'd say 10 years. It's like there's barely such a thing. Ed Sheeran's an example of the opposite. There are only a couple of people who just sit down and write a song. by themselves or with one other person. So now when you hear these songs, and I'll go, oh, I wonder who wrote that song, and it's 11 people, and I just know from collaborating and also writing most of my songs by myself that if there's more than 4 people, most of those people were people that sat in the room and went, oh, that's good, repeat that.
Right. Yeah. Anytime you do a TV show or a movie, there'll be a whole bunch of producers on there, but you don't even remember.
There are people who have songwriting credit whose sole contribution was that they walked into the room and went, who had pepperoni?
And then pulled their dick out.
Yeah.
All right, Gina, a couple more.
I am sorry. Everybody stop what they're doing. Richard Marx is holding a guitar.
No, I was just thinking, just listening to you, I was like, my brain went to, good thing there's lifeline.
Worth it. So a couple of crimes being committed at various ranges of crime lately. 15 people were charged Wednesday at a funeral in New Jersey where as many as 70 people gathered and refused to disperse, according to authorities. 100-year-old was among those charged. Officers found 60 to 70 people gathered for a funeral in violation of the stay-at-home order banning social gatherings.
Hey, can I ask this?
Yeah.
When the 100-year-old is at the funeral home, do you leave with them, or is it a little more like, we could drive home, but that's 45 minutes, and then,
we're going to be right back here.
Around. Or we could just open a folding chair for you here, Grandpa, and just kind of, you know what I mean?
Make yourself comfortable.
Make yourself comfortable.
We'll go.
Let's kick some tires. And when I say tires, I mean coffins. Let's do some coffin kicking. Let's see what we got here.
Well, this sounds like a possible Sopranos crew because they said this is in Jersey, and officers said the crowd got unruly and argumentative. They required additional officers to respond to this funeral gathering.
And then what? Like the officers show up, and now we're spreading more.
Yeah.
And then you're going to take
them.
Who are you going to take to the pokey, and where are you going to put them?
I don't know. My feeling is sort of like symbolically you're not supposed to be doing this and setting a weird example when everyone else is trying to do it. But I don't know if you're going to fix it by getting involved with them and taking them, putting them in a drunk tank. I've not seen any groups or any crowds, although I guess when you're kind of sequestered, you don't really see any groups or any crowds. I was saying yesterday that in your neighborhood of Malibu, if you go down PCH toward Ventura, you will see a crowd surfing the second you cross in the Ventura County line.
Mm-hmm.
You will see a large group there. What's that?
Before Ventura.
Oh, before.
Yeah. I
didn't see anything before. I just saw a huge cluster of humanity, and I saw nothing before it. But you're saying
Malibu proper has enforced it. The law enforcement has done a great job the last, I'd say, 3 or 4 days in terms of just people parking and being on the beach and in groups. But prior to that, it was insanity here. And if you head towards Ventura, you will see in Malibu proper, you'll still see people standing in lines close to each other outside of the restaurants that are still open. Like just yesterday we stopped to see if there's a restaurant that we like, and they weren't answering the phone, so I just wanted to see if they were officially just closed, which they are. But right next to them is a pizza takeout place, and there were 5 people standing there waiting for the pizzas, like elbow to elbow. Like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's old habits or tough to break, like, or they don't care, or whatever. You take something like touching your face, like you're not supposed to touch your face. People are telling people not to touch their face into a microphone and touching their face. Like, I don't know that we can undo X amount of years of these sort of physical habits. Are you guys on the PCH side, or are you up the hill? I don't want to tell people where you live, but I've been going up and down.
We're on the PCH side.
It's so nice. I've seen more cops, more sheriffs per capita down that stretch of PCH than anywhere else in the Southland over the last few weeks. Is that an accurate statement?
I think so. I mean, and again, I would say it dramatically changed 4 or 5 days ago. A week or 10 days ago, there was just a daily dose of what the fuck.
Right.
Well, both in terms of people crowding together and just ignoring the social distancing, to not enough law enforcement. And so PCH is, less traffic. So people were flying down PCH, and then people were getting in accidents, and there was it's just insanity. And finally, that's changed now.
You know what kind of happened with Malibu is here's my 10-cent view of the whole thing. If you live in a nice neighborhood, oftentimes around Halloween, you'll see a lot of kids that kind of get trucked in from the bad neighborhoods, wanting to get in on the good candy and wanting to trick-or-treat in a nice neighborhood. So you'll see that. Mm-hmm. And when I went down to Malibu, I was just driving around. I didn't get out of my car, but I was driving around, and I was realizing that a lot of people who were at the beach and doing their own thing, those weren't people who lived at Malibu. Those were people who was I didn't see Barbara Streisand and James Brolin once. I didn't see Cher. I didn't see Courtney Cox at all. But I realized a lot of these people, just sort of judging from the cars they were driving, looked like they went, hey, fuck, this place that's normally packed and crowded, and we can't find a place to park where we could go down there and hang out on the beach. So it seemed like a lot of folks were flooding in who probably weren't locals.
But that's pretty much, if you live in Malibu, or any beach community like ours, that's pretty much par for the course every weekend. The place is packed, and I would say that maybe 25% of the crowds on a beautiful day are locals, and the rest
Well, you know what you need to do? You need to revisit something that was a big part of my childhood, coming from North Hollywood, California, and occasionally going out to Malibu or the Palisades or going to the beach. There was a big thing of Vals go home. So you were a valley, and there were surfers, and you were a soch, or they were soch, and you were a lowrider. They had these stupid titles, and it was
You're a greaser.
Yeah, and you'd see spray painted on walls and bathrooms and stuff down by the beach, Vals go home. They didn't want your valley ass over there trying to learn to surf.
We'll make up some signs. Daisy and I will make up some signs today.
Yeah, you and Sean Penn. Yeah. And Rob Lowe, head on down and spray paint Vals go home. Sorry, Gina, go ahead.
So Wrestlemania went down, and they did their absolute very best. It was Saturday night, $34.99 a pop on pay-per-view. At the event, Rob Gronkowski serving as host. The only problem was there was nary a crowd to be found. Very different from all the other WrestleManias. No one allowed in that wasn't supposed to be there. The event is usually held to a jammed football stadium, high energy cheering, craziness, and they did their very best to keep the energy up. I'll give you an example. Here's a clip of Gronk starting things off.
Because this year, WWE looked at everything we got planned and said, nope, this party's too big for just one night. We need 2 nights for this action-packed, title-stacked beast, and we need your boy, Gronk, to host it. And I promise you this, they picked the right man for the job, because I know how to start a party on a Saturday night and end it 30 hours later.
You know what I like about...
The following contest scheduled for one fall is for the Intercontinental Championship.
Wrestlemania, as the king would say.
Yeah.
I gotta say, is it always 1993 in professional wrestling? The color palette, the sunglasses. If you showed that to people 100 years from now, they wouldn't go, that's 2020. They go, that's 1993. Where's Spuds McKenzie?
Yeah. A lot of teal, a lot of tiger print.
And Rob wearing his crazy sunglasses.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it felt like a lot of overcompensation to me.
Well, and obviously it's easy to make fun of it. But you know what? You got to say, they tried. They tried their best to make it this high-energy event.
You got to say.
They clearly are putting, and overcompensation is a good way to put it. But, man, they are trying to compensate for lack of 20,000 people.
So now what was the pay-per-view numbers for this? Because
that's a good question.
One could argue they should be a lot lower, and then one could argue they should be a lot higher.
Yeah.
There's kind of both. To me, watching it without the crowd feels a little lackluster. On the other hand, if you have tons of fans and they're all sequestered and they're all looking for something and there's no live anything going at any time, this could be the only game in town.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
To me, what would be interesting is I'll buy you a second, but the pay-per-view numbers versus previous years. And this pay-per-view box office or receipts or whatever that number is, I think it's going to set the table for a lot of other events. They're going to be people who tour, who do music, who maybe do comedy, who maybe do other forms of entertainment, other possible sporting events, or not the Super Bowl, but I mean other sporting events, other types of live events, who are going to be watching this closely, going, can this work? Do people want it? Are they pent up for it? Should we squeeze the trigger on our next event? Yes, Brian.
An interesting wrinkle will be, I imagine a certain percentage of the audience that maybe would spring for pay-per-view in normal years might be feeling economic pinch a little bit. Maybe they're not working for the last month. And so maybe they wouldn't, they might mitigate the numbers a little bit.
If I know WrestleMania fans, they're not socking away for their kids' college fund or working on their 401k. See, there's going to be a lot of arguments, sort of pro and con. They go, well, the economy's bad. Nobody needs to watch WrestleMania, so that money could go to eggs and milk. On the other hand, everyone's been locked up for a month.
Yeah.
They want to do it.
Isn't it historically true that in horrible, depressing economic times, that the things that still thrive are entertainment, and because people just want to, not worry. They just want to worry.
Cigarettes, booze, and wrestling are the things that always thrive. And
that's what they always
down
say.
Economy. So, Gina, you can look for those numbers.
I think I got it.
Can. So, Gina, numbers?
Oh, sorry, I spoke too soon. This is for AEW Revolution on the 29th. Chris isn't seeing it, and I'm not seeing it either. For that one, I mean, maybe just to give us something to go off of, they said they pulled in between 100,000 and 105,000 pay-per-view buys.
For what?
I don't know what. For AEW Revolution, that was a different one. That was at the end of February. So just
that was a wrestling thing? Or?
Yeah, that was with Chris Jericho.
Oh, okay.
And John Moxley. But I don't think they've posted numbers yet for this one.
Well,
like 2 days old because it was 2 nights.
No posted numbers usually means low numbers, but we'll see if they come out. I don't know if they normally would post them immediately. I do know that when they break a record or they do the brag about, they normally headlines the next day. So no numbers is bad numbers unless we hear otherwise. Max Spada.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any numbers either, but I did see over the weekend it was the #1 trending topic all weekend long on Twitter. So I mean, a lot of people were talking about it, but yeah, they haven't released any.
Well, the way to figure it out is to figure out in previous years, when did they release the numbers? And if there's always a week's wait or whatever that is, then that's what's going on now. But if they did it the next day, then something may be up. All right. We'll look into that. Keep you posted for tomorrow. Max Spada, put that on your to-do list. Let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.